Hello, everybody. Jeff and Jill here. We're doing this week's devotional, and we want to talk about the last couple of months sermon series that Jody's been doing on Follow Me, and we want to talk a little bit about what that looks like. What does it look like to be a devoted follower of Christ? And when you look up follow in the dictionary, it talks about adhere, and it talks about devotee, and both of those are two key words. I mean, those are good words. I think the root word for adhesive would be to adhere. To adhere something, sometimes you use adhesive, and that means to stick two things together. Or devotee is a devoted follower, somebody that follows or holds somebody in high regard. And so Jill and I have been discussing for a week or two now about what are we going to talk about? What does this look like? And Jill had a good idea of, what illustrates that more than a marriage. So when you enter into a marriage, the commitment that it takes, and it's not just an acknowledgement of one another, that we acknowledge each other, is actually a commitment, and it requires proactivity. It requires intentionality. And so we're going to share part of our story, our walk in our marriage. I'm going to let Jill start it off.
Okay, so I wanted to tell everybody about kind of how we met and the story, the progression of from being good friends in college to when we became a little bit more serious. We met at SFA, Stephen F. Austin State University, and we met through the campus Christian campus center called the Yellow House, and we're always real good friends. I mean, I always thought Jeff was a cool guy, and we hung out a lot in groups, and just always, real good friends. Of course, I had a huge crush on him, and I don't think it was reciprocated for a long time, but anyway, when we finally decided, when I could tell, we were a little bit more interested in each other, more than friends, it still wasn't like, your typical dating situation. He may call, maybe once a week. We might talk. We might go, grab something to eat. But it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was just here and there. And so I always kind of was left wondering, like, where do I stand with Jeff? Because it didn't really feel like a truly committed, relationship. An all-in relationship, I guess you'd say. So I was about to go home to student teach here in Longview, and I remember telling Jeff one day that I could stay there at SFA, and I could student teach, and I was kind of hinting that I could be in the same town. We could continue this. Or I could go home and live with my parents and student teach here in Longview, and of course it'd be cheaper. And of course he said, "Oh yeah, if it's cheaper, I'd go there." So there I was like, okay. So anyway, I did end up, choosing a school here in Longview to student teach at, and then we just kind of kept seeing each other through the rest of that semester. But I was already committed for the next fall to be home. But I think something changed over the summer.
Yeah, so my side of the story is, obviously I see it a little bit different, and Jill's right in the way she was seeing it, but for me, I think it was just a lack of intentionality. It was a lack of thinking, I think. I viewed Jill as my best friend. Me and Jill, she was a cool chick, is what I viewed her as, and she was my best friend. And so when she asked, obviously, about that, it's like, well, it's cheaper. I didn't think. And so I remember being at ACU in Abilene, there at the campus at ACU that summer, whatever summer that was. And I was working as a camp counselor at Kadesh in this youth camp I was only there for a couple of weeks. And a good friend of mine was there, and I remember having a conversation with him, and it's been a long time ago. I don't remember exactly the conversation that we had or what brought this out, but I started looking ahead, and I started thinking about the rest of my life. And I remember at that point I thought, maybe I need to be more intentional about this relationship, because I don't want to spend the rest of my life without Jill. And so I think there was a transformation that occurred at that point that probably caused me to be a little bit more proactive, and it also required me to be more intentional in that relationship. And so our relationship definitely took a change at that point, and it wasn't because something happened that didn't happen before, other than I finally thought about it.
But, and the things that changed, though, when he came back from that camp, and this was, like I said, in the summer before I'm moving back home to student teach, it was like phone call every day. Every day we were in touch. Every day, he was either calling me or he was coming over, and I could tell he was actively pursuing me, and this was a bigger deal. So it was definitely, the change to me was, he was way more serious about what was going on with our relationship. So how does that all tie in?
So how does that tie in
to being a follower of Jesus? And
so basically, the part of the passage that Jody's been teaching on in Luke 9:29 or 23, Luke 9:23, it says, Jesus continued to say to all of them, any of you who want to be my follower must stop thinking about yourself and what you want. You must be willing to carry the cross that is given to you every day for following me. And so what it means to be a Christ follower, what Christ is talking about, is not an acknowledgement that Christ is there. Not just an acknowledgement that, yeah, I believe in Christ. But there's an action that's involved. We have to be proactive. We have to be intentional. And I think that's what that looks like. And so that's how we wanted to tie this in, is there is an action that comes with this. So, part of it's constant communication. We need to seek that relationship.
And daily striving to work on our relationship with Jesus. Like every day, I'm hoping, and I'm not saying that I do this as well as I should, but every day I should be starting my day off in constant communication with God. I should be touching, base. I don't know if that's really the best phrase, but I should be actively seeking Him. And, like when you're in a close relationship with someone, you're going to be enthusiastic about them. When I started dating Jeff, I wanted to take an ad out in the paper. I wanted everybody to know I'm dating Jeff Simpson, and he likes me. And so, but if that's how we are about Jesus, if we're a true follower of Him, hopefully we will be that enthusiastic about telling others about Him, and what our relationship is like with them. And the closer you are with Jesus, the more you're going to be able to see the blessings, that He bestows upon you each day. You're going to be able to see Him every day in your life in some manner. And I just don't think you're going to have that feeling if you're not, closely tied in, if you're not all in. Just be like any other relationship that's kind of on the fringe.
We've also realized, I think, in our marriage, the longer we're married, the deeper our relationship gets, the more we know each other. And it's the same in our relationship with Christ. The longer we work on that communication and that relationship with Christ, the more we learn about Christ. And, I think that I don't think I'll ever fully get to know everything about Jill and not ever have any more surprises. I don't think I'll get there. And that's the same way it is with our walk with Christ. There's always something new that we're going to get out of that. But it does take more than acknowledgement. It takes being intentional in that walk with Christ, and it takes being proactive in that walk with Christ. So that's our message for today.
That's it.
We thank you for joining us.
Okay, thanks.